All right, I call the meeting to order. Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic, states, one nation, under God, liberty, and justice for all.
Somebody want to make, wait, yeah, we'll give it another.
Change on the agenda? Oh, good question. Or do we approve the agenda? I'll second your motion.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, that one carried. How about the previous board minutes? Where's Teresa?
I read through. Yeah, make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the last board meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, that one carries. Okay. Public comment.
Want to do it?
Want to do it? I guess we don't have any public comment. We don't have any appointments. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Anybody want to make a motion or change anything in there?
I just want to point out that there's going to be a open spot for the planning commission. So they're going to be looking for someone for that. And then the other two gentlemen are 3-year reappointments. Spot that's open, is that to a specific area? It's moved by my area. Ridge Shield, Honey Creek area.
Okay, so it should be somebody from over.
Kind
in
of,
your
yeah.
district. Okay. I didn't know,
Makes
so
some bet.
it doesn't have to be.
Well, it's best to cover, you try to spread it out.
You say your area would. Well, I don't know. Well, District 4, so I'll see. Would be close to your area. I don't know if this is anybody from District 4.
Well, all I know is Rich came from Honey Creek area, and we have Wayne that's in our area.
And you got Franklin on the Board of Adjustment.
That's Board of Adjustment, that's different.
True. Well, I don't know if any persons. Required.
Okay,
Let's see what we get.
Mhm.
That said, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
is there a second to that?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Action item. Consider adopting a non-representative wage and salary pay scale 3% for 23. That would be Tess, and I'm sure she's not on today.
That's basically just saying that it's gonna follow what the MAPE rules are. Agreement for MAPE. Well, actually, for all the unions, because everything was 3%, so that's what that's about, so. I make a motion, we approve adopting the non-represented wage and salary scale for 3% for 23.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion and a second to adopt that wage scale.
I got a question.
One question.
So when you go down to 2, that D range non-represented. What's the deal on that compared to this?
And do you wanna come forward and explain that, or?
Well, but, okay, just let me look at this first. It's actually back in 2021.
That's what I thought.
Back in 2021. The board
Maybe you wanna,
deemed
the 4 deranged employees received $1 as opposed to the 2.5% that the comparable MAPE employees were granted. So this is actually just bringing those wages to be comparable to those same rated people and making up that small difference that happened in that year, so that we're on a consistent schedule of everyone getting the same
Okay.
salary for
Why don't you
2023.
explain?
Background. In 21, everybody got $1. Non-represented. And it was beneficial to the majority of them, but the D range didn't get quite as much because of the 2.5%. So
Okay.
it's just making.
Who corrects that?
It corrects it and, yeah,
And
Makes
then
it
on-
consistent going forward.
make it consistent going forward and treat them all the same.
So on the one that we're looking at right now, the 3%, that's 3% for everybody that's non-represented.
Correct.
Right.
There are a couple that have already agreed to their changes, like Donna and.
Okay, so that's the elected official
That's
salary.
different.
That's
Okay.
not
This is for the
non-represented,
non-represented.
non-represented,
They're not.
Yeah. they're-
but they're elected. They're under a different set of rules.
Okay,
They're more directed by statute on how you
And
do theirs.
the board has authority to set their pay
so
by
we've got
statute,
2 elected ones that are set and
right, because
2 that aren't.
Right.
right,
And it was requested that they be put on next
Well-
week's agenda.
7.
Well, 7, because the commissioners, right. Mhm.
Okay, that's correct. All right, that's all I wanted to think. Yeah,
Okay,
thank
so,
you.
all right, now we can vote on number 1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we've discussed number 2 pretty good already. Somebody want to make a motion to approve that?
So
Second,
Got a motion and a second? Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, consider adjusting the temporary seasonal employee wage scale from seasonal workers, veterans, service drivers, sheriff's office, transport officers, 3% for the 23 year.
this goes along the same lines as what
Number
number
21.
1 is there, so. Make a motion we approve their 3% for 23.
question.
Yes.
These are part-time people. They only drive when it's necessary,
Seasonal
Seasonal.
drivers, workers.
but only when there's a demand or something. What's the current pay scale that the 3% is going to be based on?
$14 and some cents an hour, right? Was it 15?
So 3% of that, you're not talking. a lot.
Less than 50. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay. All right, all in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consider approving agreement and a resolution number 2250-57. Agency agreement for the federal participation in construction. Brian.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners. This is a standard agreement that we approve with MnDOT about every 5 years. It's so that way it kind of sets the terms and conditions for the county on projects that are federally funded. And without this, then we can't get any federal funding. So highly recommend approving this today.
So Brian, was there any changes to this from the last agreement we did 5 years ago?
Yeah, there's always some minimal changes or some changes. This time they added some requirements in there for Title VI. requirements of which we're complying with that. So besides for that, there's just some little stuff, but nothing that's drastic or that really impacts or affects what we've been doing historically anyway.
Does this affect the pay that, we have to pay our people when they're on a federal job going to prevailing wage?
It does not affect us and contractors and prevailing wage. That's already in the current agreement, so it doesn't change that either. I mean that the prevailing wage rates change every year, so it just continually moves up a little bit. But this agreement itself doesn't set those rates.
Currently, the truck driver gets $54 an hour to drive the truck, right?
Yep, and they collect data, and every year both the feds and the state prevailing wage rates will change, usually in November or December of the year. But this doesn't set those rates. That's a separate process, but it does tie into this agreement.
That would stop out.
It doesn't change the county's share of the cost of the projects,
No,
percentages?
no, that doesn't change either. Nope. Federal funds are eligible for 30 to 80% of the construction cost. And there's no change with that.
That section where it's Buy America, is that something new?
Yes, there's been some Buy America stuff that's been required in the past, like steel has been one item. There's been additional stuff now where it affects plastics and stuff. What they've done is if it's not in this contract, but they need us to start doing that, then they add additional requirements to our special provisions. So ultimately, even if it hasn't been in the previous contract, some of the stuff's been tied into our contracts and other means.
Okay,
Gonna get it what they want, one way or the other.
Yep.
Any more questions? Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, that's all I have.
Move to approve the agreement 22.57.
Good. We got a motion to approve it. Second
I'll second it.
and a
Without it,
second.
we don't get fundings.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any more talk? All right. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approving the resolution 22-58. Final acceptance for a SAP 028-592-007, contract 328 with Dunn Blacktopping for South Ridge Road. The cost was $599,413.87. Right?
Yep. So this is the paving project on South Ridge Road. So that had two contracts. The first one was the aggregate that was added on top of the old roadway. That contract was closed out previously. This is the paving. So with this, when we close this project out, this will final this project out. This did go to the township for their concurrence on closing the project out, and they met and approved that. So original contract was $612,566.90. Work certified $599,413.87, and this is being paid for by state of Minnesota LRIP funds.
this closes it out, that's right.
Yep. After this, the county's obligations are fulfilled.
I make a motion, we approve the final acceptance of the contract 328 for Dunn Blacktop for South Ridge Road.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approving a resolution number 22-59, final acceptance for a SAP 028-030-008, contract 320 with Dunn Blacktop for paving on County Roads 4, 1, and 10 in Houston County. The total cost was $3,392,301. Geez, Lord, that's good.
Can we trade this with, Mount Prairie Township and, they pay ours, they pay this?
Good idea.
Yeah, so- Yep, so this is our big paving contract that took place this last summer on County 1 going down into Beaver Creek Valley State Park, County 4 south of Spring Grove, and then County 10 from the southern portion from Caledonia heading towards Sheldon. Original contract amount $3,455,259.25. So as Greg read the total amount approved, we're at about 98.2% of the total original contract amount. So contractor fulfilled all their requirements. Now we're recommending getting this project closed out as well.
Brian, with regard to County Highway 1 going down to Beaver, this is the total cost of the project. We did get reimbursed from the DNR for their portion of that.
Yeah, we need to submit it. We haven't, I don't believe, got reimbursed for everything quite yet, but we will. State Park Road account money had it'll be $509,706.08. So just over $500,000 will be state money. The remainder will be our CASA money, county state aid, construction account money.
That's that state money, that's for that bike path part?
Yeah, that's the widening of the lanes going down into the entire length of County 1. So we have 5-foot paved shoulders during the portion up above the hill outside the park boundary. Then within the park boundary, the whole roadway narrowed down. I think we got 2-foot paved shoulders, if I remember right, down within the park. So that's what this state park money helped cover.
But that'll be forthcoming sometime next year.
Yeah, we need to submit for it all and get reimbursed back. So it'll be coming soon though.
Okay.
More questions?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Brett.
Brent. Consider approving the MFIP DWP contract with Workforce Development Incorporated, WDI, for required and employment and training services. John.
Good morning. These contracts here, I've got 4 of them before you this morning. These kind of start a parade of our annual contracts. We may have some more on the 27th, and then typically we'll have a few in the beginning of January too for 2023 agreements. A number of them are still out. We're working to get appropriate signatures and all of that. For this one, MFIP and DWP, this is an agreement, a longstanding agreement that we've had with Workforce Development Incorporated. They provide employment and training services in our 10-county region. Anybody who receives cash assistance through our office, they generally need to participate in employment and training activities through WDI. This is funded through the MFIP Consolidated Fund. And this year it's actually a bit of a reduction because that MFIP Consolidated Fund allocation to us is a little bit less. So we're going down from 134,375 last year to 125,000 this year. Basically, we work with WDI based on the allocations we receive from the state. So there's no county money in this. Sorry, I interrupted you, Commissioner.
No, just asking the reduction, is this based on demand?
I don't know exactly. I'd have to look into that. It's formula funding we receive. As you look at our budgets and things, we often talk about lines that are tied to specific allocations. This would be one of them. And for whatever reason, it went down. I don't know if it's utilization, other types of things. I'd have to look into that, but it typically bobs up and down. So it may be what's available at the state, and then they divvy it up based on per capita, and may also be impacted by utilization, but I'd need to verify that.
Clarify, this is funds that come from the state and we're pass-through type of thing, depending upon usage.
Correct. These are dollars that are allocated to us through the state from the MFIP Consolidated Fund. And probably the biggest expenditure out of that MFIP Consolidated Fund by far is this employment and training contract. It's a requirement of the county to provide employment and training services, and it's a requirement of participants to participate in them.
That information, I move to approve the contract with workforce development.
Okay. Motion. I'll second it. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Consider approving the contract for Woods Psychological Services to provide and reflect supervision on our children protection social workers.
This is also a somewhat long-term agreement that we've had for the last several years with Woods Psychological Services. Prior to that, we had this agreement with Hiawatha Valley. Ms. Woods used to work for Hiawatha and started her own business, and so Hiawatha wasn't able to provide this service to us anymore. This is a best practice that we do in support of our child protection social workers. And there's no change in her rate from 2022 to 2023.
Make a motion, we approve contract.
Okay.
Question.
Yes, you have a question.
So John, with regard to this, when I look at the description of services, it's 2 hours per month of reflective supervision. Do they come down here? Do they just kind of look things over and say how we're doing?
It's done individually with our staff, and kind of, if you've ever heard the term secondary trauma, our social workers work in some of the most challenging and frankly, heartbreaking types of situations. And so providing this kind of mental health support for that secondary trauma, it gives our staff the opportunity to kind of process some of those experiences through this reflective supervision process. In order to do it, you need to be a mental health professional, and we don't have any of those people properly certified on staff.
Sure. But I guess the question is, when I read payment for services, it's $150 an hour, which includes travel time. So up above, it's provide up to 2 hours per month of reflective supervision, $150 an hour for travel. I mean, they're doing this in, they're not coming down here. They're just doing it online.
Sometimes they come down, sometimes, with the pandemic, there was a lot of things that were done remotely. But if travel is factored in, then that would indicate that they probably have come down here.
But if they're only providing 2 hours a month, they can't even get here and back in 2 hours. I'm a little confused that, that the max that we're going to get is 2 hours a month. They have to do everything from up there, because that's a 5-hour drive to come down here and go back to Golden Valley. I'm just a little confused by that.
Yeah, I did not notice that, and I can verify with Bethany how that works. So I do know that it's an important service that supports our staff. I haven't heard that it's something that we've allocated too little time to. So, but I'll look at that and
It just reads goofy to me. That's
yeah, I guess I would agree based on what you're saying.
Thank you. Call the question.
All right. All in favor of considering the contract with Woods, say yes. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Considering approving a multi-county SNAP employment training agreement.
So this is similar to the first one we did with MFEP. This is specifically for participants who are receiving SNAP food assistance benefits. And some of those folks are also required to participate in employment and training and employment services. And so we're required to provide those. The state again provides some dollars for that. So this is a pass-through. We work with also with WDI, but the contract is hosted by Wabasha County. It's a much smaller contract. In this case, last year was 10,877. This year is 8,915. So similar to what we discussed earlier, that's an allocation that comes to us. We work with Wabasha County in this case, and they contract with WDI to provide that for several counties in our region. Again, employment and training services for, in this case, individuals who are receiving SNAP food assistance benefits.
It has nothing to do with the compliance part, compliance of SNAP recipients.
Yeah, and as with the previous one, we need to provide it, they need to participate, so there's compliance there. Did that answer the question?
No, what I was referring to is compliance from, we always used to hear from an investigator that was hired by the 4 counties to investigate compliance issues with, people receiving benefits.
Right.
Stuff.
That's also, that's a separate agreement for fraud protection or prevention and investigation. Also
Right.
with Wabasha County, they're the host for that.
That's
So
what I
they're-
thought. This isn't it there. This is different.
No, this is totally different.
Just for the program, yeah.
I'm glad you clarified that because that's a very different thing.
But the total available funds is $7,129.80. Which leaves $1,157 for support services after the program expenses that go to Wabasha. The $1,157 is split up amongst the 4 counties,
No, I think that's our portion.
because it doesn't read that way. The county and the contractor agree as follows: available funds designated for direct expenses. Administration is $629.10, $1,157 designated for support services for the 4 counties. So the $1,157 is for all 4 counties. It's under the witnesses.
All right.
So it's really not much of a contract.
No, either way, whether this is just for us or for the 4 county region, the amount of money allocated to this is pretty minimal.
More questions? Nope. I'll entertain a motion to approve it or disapprove it.
Doesn't cost us anything. You approve.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve it. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed. Motion carried. Number 10. Consider approving the 2023 Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center contract and rates for adult children mental health services. The rates for 2023 reflect a 5%
All right, this also is a long-standing contract that we've had with Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center. This establishes rates for a wide variety of services that we need to purchase to help support people we serve with mental health issues, and the rates for their services have been flat over the last 3 years. In discussing the contract with the executive director, we landed on 5% increase for this year. They, like us, are experiencing a lot of the same kinds of pressures with salaries and retention and things like that. So given the fact that they'd been flat for 3 years, I felt that it was reasonable to come forward with an increase that they had requested. Again, these are services that we need to provide, and Hiawatha is the primary provider of these services. So their health and strength in our community is a really important thing. And so I think, Bob, you're on their board as well, so you can probably attest to that as well.
Guess I have a related question. This mandated, is there any state funding with this? Or is it strictly our expense?
There is funding, although not as direct as you see in some of the employment and training services things. They're not based on an allocation for this service. Oftentimes we will pay the bill and then we can get reimbursed for a portion of it, which we work hard to make sure we get reimbursement for everything we can. But it's in the social services side of our operation, it's always a lot more complicated, not as straightforward as a straight allocation or a kind of a specific percent. But all of these services, we try to get reimbursement. Some we can get third-party billing, some have MA coverage, some have other state allocations that we can draw on.
So the 5% increase, is that in the budget that you've got put together?
It is.
And that's strictly for like the rates per hour and stuff like that.
Exactly. I'd also note that the contract states not to exceed of 60,000. We've not come anywhere near 60,000 in these services since I've been here. I think last year it was in the neighborhood of, the last several years have been in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000 a year. So we don't budget the not to exceed figure, we budget the trend on it. And so this would be reflected in our budget.
More questions?
Nope. They provide a good service. It's a necessary service for the mental health of the county, the community. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion to approve.
Second.
And we have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, now we'll go to discussion items. Discuss the 2023 budget. I think that would be Carol.
All right. So from the time we adopted the proposed budget, people have been working on looking at different things to possibly make adjustments. So what I did for this meeting was put together this 3-panel sheet, and it shows you the new amounts for each of the funds and where we're at in terms of a budget deficit with those adjustments made and levying the 3%. So for our preliminary budget, we were at a budget deficit of 164,000, and with the adjustments that were made, additional income, reduced expenditures, we're now at a $69,653 budget deficit spread over the funds. I think it's something that Tuesday we'll have our finance committee meeting and we'll take a look through some more, and I'll get the full budgets out to each of the commissioners so that we can take a look. You know, it would really probably appear that looking at our fund balance sheet, which is the third sheet, we probably do have fund balance to support a 2% levy increase as opposed to a 3% levy increase. So that might be something that you want to think about, take a look at. The ARPA that's attached on the last sheet, there haven't really been any changes, and I left the information on there on the possible uses that haven't been approved, and that would be the Selco on the 2023 was approved basically in the negotiations and the contract signing. The childcare, there's $300,000 as an allocation. And the Houston County Fair, their request was $100,000, and I don't know if, because we've ended the serve contract, that kind of, helped them with projects like that. If you want to take a look at what the projects were that they sent the information for, to see what you would be willing to fund in terms of the fairgrounds, the buildings. So really, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I have for today. I am going through the open enrollment changes, and there will be some changes in the salary budgets. It won't be anything huge.
There's been more open enrollment, more,
What's that?
there's been more people enrolling.
More people enrolled, yes, newer employees who
Yeah.
didn't take the coverage when they first started, and now they are. I mean, some of them are going to have to take it mid-year, so they just decided that first of the year, why not take it? But like I said, it's not that much. I mean, it might end up being like $30,000 total.
So the $69,000 figure is based on the 3% preliminary levy.
Mhm. So, yeah, we've moved over to the panel with the green.
Looking at this,
Thing.
The second page kind of gives you just a little bit more detail, the difference between the revenues and the expenditures, whereas the first page is just a net.
Question, so. The first question on the ARPA. Front page orange has been paid and all the green have been paid.
Yes, the orange was paid in 2021, the green in 2022.
Then we come to the backside. There's a
Well,
question mark on the green.
Except
so
the La Crescent sidewalk improvement. I mean,
The
the
front
first,
page has all been paid.
yes,
The backside. The question marks on the 50,000, that has not been paid. We're not sure how that's gonna work out.
right.
And the 90,000, the 300,000 and the 100,000 is proposed. But not paid.
Proposed but not approved by the board.
The 500,000, the 60 and the 60 and the 50 are taken back out again.
Yeah.
Because the 500 was a duplication on my part. 60, 60 and 50s were taken it out of the capital fund.
So we're still over.
No, then we would have the $377,630
Okay.
of ARPA funding that hasn't been.
And I think 100,000 might be a little bit strong for the fair. 50.
So I think before next week's meeting, or before the finance committee meeting, if you have thoughts on it, if you get them to Greg and Dewey, so that we can put together the package for the Tuesday meeting to approve the final budget and levy.
Well, we approved the Selco contract, so that's already committed.
Right,
And
and I guess I didn't change that.
so there's the childcare, county fair.
And the ARPA allocations aren't something that need to be approved
Childcare is
next week
approved.
either.
No, that's just proposed.
So
Fair-
the
fair-
ARPA money doesn't need to be approved, but allocated, because we have until 2024.
Yes, and
So
2026
allocated
suspended.
26 to spend.
Yeah, but this is just, an idea of where you're at in terms of looking at, if there's things in the budget that you were thinking of, and maybe they should be taken out, and put in here.
Well, we'll probably still have the childcare money and probably the Houston County Fair money until the first of the year, so we'll have probably 500,000 in that.
I think we wait until first child gets done, so we know what our need is in childcare for Houston County, and if we have to put some grants together or whatever in order to support childcare. I think
Right.
that's an important issue for the county. The
What is-
fair, like you said, 100,000 is their request, doesn't mean that's what we have to give them. But
You have
they're,
a number,
I was thinking 50.
in my mind, just.
we don't have to decide that now. I mean,
No, but I mean, we're looking at a fund. I totally agree with Mr. Burns about the childcare. I think that needs to stay there, Stelco. That
They
we
can't be,
can't adjust, in my opinion.
And I guess I don't know that La Crescent sidewalk improvement, the board made a motion to provide funding up to $50,000, but is that a project that's happening? Is it not happening, or?
To my knowledge,
Chris?
between Brian and the engineer for city, they're working on it for 6 years, my understanding. Nothing has been passed, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
so in which case, didn't the city of Caledonia also kind of look at different spots where they're looking at it? So are we going to provide funding for them also? Are we gonna look at each city?
They wanted grants, wasn't
Brian was gonna make a comment.
Yeah, I was going to say City of La Crescent and I believe City of Caledonia, they're both going to pursue state grants to hopefully cover as much of the local portion as possible for those projects. So even though there's money allocated, the projects I think are only going to happen if the state gets money, and the local portion will be only the non-covered costs. So they're hoping to get 80-90% of that project cost covered by state grants. So it should be pretty minimal local cost.
Even though we've got $50,000 allocated to the La Crescent project, it may not be that much.
Correct. It could be substantially less than that for our portion.
I don't see anything allocated for the Caledonia project.
Correct.
Do you have any ideas on the Caledonia project that would give us a idea of what we can kind of be prepared for, set aside?
it? We got
Maybe 20,000.
Do you think the 50,000 that we've got allocated to the La Crescent project would cover both La Crescent and Caledonia?
If they both get state funding on their projects, then yes.
What's gonna cover Houston?
Yeah, Houston, Polka.
Polka.
Yeah, they haven't submitted anything yet on the county system.
Start looking at all the.
about guardrails for Oka. They need them.
I don't think that house is going to be an issue anymore, is it? Not from the picture I saw.
Well, anybody got any more questions about this? Or what do
Well,
you guys
the
think?
the west lot improvements of 230,000, that's not been committed to either. I mean, we've talked
Well-
about, we're gonna use our.
So I guess I would have to say the green on this side that show 2022 are the ones that the board has discussed, and they've been approximate numbers put in.
Right.
Now, the space utilization study is actually coming in at 60-some thousand, so
Right,
there's a change there.
Use the 50 and we'll have to cough up the extra 10. I love it.
Somewhere. Mhm.
Well, it can come out of the 377, 630. I mean, we can balance that back out.
Right,
of our-
right. It can be changed up there. Like I said, these are items that were discussed. Part of the central square has been paid. Part of the posse shed electrical has been paid. But everything on the back page is a not a, maybe a definite.
So Brian, how are they coming on that county sheriff shed electricity? They got it all wired or not?
For what?
That sheriff shed, did they get it wired?
Impound shed.
Yeah, I haven't seen or done anything with that here for quite some time. I think they've been talking to the sheriff's office some, and I don't know when the last conversation took place.
So we just had the one bill from Kish and Sons for $1,526.75 to, well, it says they wired the new fuel island and then install rigid conduits for auto gates. New wiring for new fuel island and install service for sheriff's impound shed. So basically that was getting wired to the shed, but nothing in, right?
Yeah, there was some very minimal stuff involved with the shed on that bill. Dealing with some coordination between what was wanted and what the requirements were. Dealing with the state inspector on that. I don't know if there was really a whole lot that actually got
Yeah, that, I wouldn't
constructed
say
on
that
that
was,
portion.
No, that was just a,
yeah, that was, the most chunk of that was the wire of the fuel island for the shop.
Correct.
Have they
7,500
run
was for the
the
fuel.
wire to the impound shed or nothing done the inside?
Who's supposed to run the wire?
So the city, I believe, can run the wire. The cost depends on if it's overhead or underground. They don't trench anything underground, so we would have to dig the trench. That'll be our cost for that. If it's overhead, then there needs to be a connection point, a pole and stuff over at the shed itself to come down. And I don't think that decision's been made as far as if it's going to be overhead or underground. It'll come from that power pole that's close by, right across at the end of East South Street.
Nothing's gonna happen this winter.
Correct.
Make no frosting ground, but.
Well, as far as the budget as a whole, we could do 2%, that'd be great.
But is that an unrealistic number? I mean, when you look at inflation and whatnot, what we're gonna be looking at next year, should we leave it at the 3%? Which, based on most counties and most budgets, is a pretty reasonable number. We're already taking some money out of the reserves at the 3%, even at the 3%.
That will be the final decision next week.
Yeah.
When you adopt the final levy.
I get what you're saying,
Because now,
I'm thinking that's just, it's a guess. But I feel it's gonna go backwards here after this inflation thing eventually, recession, we're in a recession. Leave anything open down.
here's another question I have. We got the notice as far as how much it's gonna cost to re-roof the courthouse.
Well, that's an estimate from Collaborative Design, right? That wasn't
Right, that's not a bid.
that's not a bid.
It's not a bit, but
It's part of the RFP or,
Right.
well,
Yeah,
I mean, like to Brian, that's the engineer's estimate of a road
Right.
project.
Yep.
That's what,
it's
That
more
is-
realistic than the one that we were given by the fellow that sat. here.
Yeah.
it said $75,000, yeah.
Double.
So
I
then
figured it would be.
that would be coming out of the capital improvement reserve. Where there's $870,000.
To me, that's what this reserve is used for, to help balance out the inflation part of everything and to keep our taxes from going crazy.
I agree.
Right. Until the reserve is gone.
If we have
Well, that's why we have to be careful with our spending. I mean, every year to not to overspend and, you know,
The
eventually-
870 that's in there now will drop to 500 with the roof.
Right, that's just the capital improvement reserve. That's not our. The remainder of our fund balance.
Right.
Is the 979,514 for the general fund. Road and Bridge, there is the allocation of the 500,000 out of that 3.2. So, I mean, Human Services is probably. The closest in terms of. Having the minimum fund balance that you need. So that can be looked at.
So we all agree we'll leave ARPA like it is for right now?
but it was just.
Yeah, that's just kind of informational, just to know where we're at.
When we get to the approving thing, then it goes. Approve, then we don't mess with it no more.
Yeah,
But each percent is like 140,000, 45,000.
On the levy, it shows it down
139.
139, 338. Yep.
Any more discussion on our budget? All right, thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Oh, and we discussed ARPA, so I guess now. Want to move up to board updates?
Sure thing.
All right, I guess I was all at the same meetings you guys were in the last 2 weeks. Guess we all know what all went on, so I really ain't got a lot to talk about. Teresa's not here, so I guess it'll be your turn, Bob.
Right. We had a Zoom for early child first,
first children's
First-
finance,
children finance, sorry,
okay,
with he's putting the schedule together as far as the upcoming meetings and how many replies to the surveys we've received and that information so far. Went to the Hiawatha Valley planning meeting last week, and then went to the board meeting, the regular board meeting and the annual board meeting. And made me the vice president of the executive committee. So, goody. And then not much going on otherwise. Then the other special meeting and now this meeting. So I have a parks meeting coming up pretty soon. Donna's Donna said that's changed. So she's gonna have to tell us when that is. And see if it actually fits our schedules again. I had it for tomorrow. Okay. So that's all I got to read.
Last meeting kind of threw off my report, so, we had a personnel committee meeting here and came with the recommendations for elected non-represented, that'll be brought forward next meeting. The sheriff-elect would like to meet with us, Greg, sometime. We need emails on that. Got one this morning. So,
Let's see why plus involved too there, I suppose, and when will she be there?
well, we'll have to do it without her. So we'll have to meet with, I guess we'll have to meet with them and discuss it some more. The proposal preliminary was just to set it the same as Sheriff Inglis. Yeah, that's all I got.
The only things I had is I was with the department head meeting in the last month. We report on, of course, you all know the van is here and for veteran services and working on getting it wrapped and ready to go. So, and the wheelchair thing, wasn't it? So that is wheelchair.
Yep. Think about the wheelchairs, you can get 2 wheelchairs in this van.
It's an upgrade.
An upgrade.
Still all extra people, so it's weight maybe is probably worth it. Few other things with just minor things with the budget, Carol mentioned that during our discussion. Recorder, they mentioned that a lot of splits, several splits of rural properties going on. Apparently selling off lots of
Building
piece of land
sites.
for building sites. Then those are highlights, and then I did a Zoom meeting with Winlac. Working on getting their plan together and letting them know that we're working our comp plan down here to go along with DNR requests of things that they're having. High priority is right now fish killing streams. We're looking at runoff. And that's about it. I have from.
So that new van, is that white one sitting out here? Looks so nice.
Excuse me?
That new van, is that white one sitting out here? Yeah. Looks nice. Just got it, huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's out there.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I think it was yesterday. I seen it out there. It looks like a pretty nice van, nice big white one.
It's clean and new.
Yeah, it looks nice.
It's got captain chairs, it's got the front seats and then captain chairs behind it, so you can get 2 people in there plus a wheelchair, or fold those chairs down and then you can get 2 wheelchairs.
Cool. Good deal.
So just a reminder, we have a comp plan at 2 o'clock today.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, we've been working on the drafts of it for you guys to look at, so we're gonna have another meeting today.
It's a comp plan for the committee, not for the board as a whole.
Okay.
I don't know if she shared with the rest of the things she did. Just, you might, and
All right, well, I guess we have to go to closing public comment. There can be much action.
I would like to make one notation here.
Yeah, we can do it.
Did you see the letter that Lucas sent to the state?
Yep,
With regard to
email.
that email that
He's appealing their,
healing their 23 or 26% increase requirement. You think we as a board should send a letter to them as well, supporting his findings?
wouldn't hurt.
Because it makes a great deal of sense in what he sent them, and the way the pricing is going, and the studies indicate right now that we're right where we're supposed to be.
Right.
So why would we raise the values on people's properties again if we're in line?
How do we go about doing this?
Well, I can talk to Lucas and see if,
You can draw something up for us support.
We're already seeing the sale of houses going down.
Yeah.
And so they're saying they want to play catch up, statist.
But
It will be
They'll be caught up once it goes down.
sales.
or we're
Well, you talk
overstated. I'll talk to Lucas and see about a letter for something next week.
Brian, have you heard anything from Sheila, how her daughter's doing?
that's off.
Okay. All right, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I've got one quick
Yep.
announcement, if that's
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Just a reminder for department heads, it is greatly appreciated. The sooner you can get your request in for the getting them in as early as possible. I will be sending commissioners a draft, hopefully close to finalized by the end of the day, Wednesday. The absolute final deadline to get anything on the last meeting is 10 a.m. Thursday. But the sooner you can get the requests in, the better. thank you very much for that. And then I may have to email some additional things if we don't have everything by the end of the day, Friday.
That's fine. Try to get
I mean,
everything.
Wednesday. So,
And we were,
Carol, you got anything?
what do you say? Well, this swearing in is on the Tuesday morning.
8 AM,
Yep, 8 AM.
what I heard.
8:30 AM is what the letter says in this room,
Third. Yep.
unless that is just your specific time.
That's what the letter said.
Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn? How about a second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're
Yeah.
done.
It's 8:30.